Hi everyone, this is Niharika from Your Legal Career Coach. We are a mentorship platform for law students, and on our YouTube channel, you will find interviews with students and industry professionals which will make your journey easier. Today, we have with us a cross team of Team DSNLU and NUS comprising of Vineela, Ankitha, Celine, Alyssa, and Mathew, who were declared the winners of the second AIADR International Mediation Competition held in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. In this session, they will be talking about their competition journey. Welcome, team. I request you to please introduce yourselves to our audience, after which we can begin with the session. Over to you.
Hi, Niharika. Thank you for the very sweet introduction. I'm Vineela, and I'm currently a penultimate student at DSNLU.
Thank you, Niharika. I'm Ankitha. I'm a penultimate student as well at DSNLU.
Yeah, hi. My name is Andrew. I'm the final year JD student at NUS, National University of Singapore.
Hi, yes, I'm Alyssa. I'm a year 2 law student taking the LLB at NUS.
Hello, I'm Celine. I'm also a year 2 law student at NUS doing the LLB.
Great. Thank you. So to begin with, please tell us about the approach that you use for preparing for the competition and how you handle the challenges for competing online for the preliminary rounds.
Right. I shall take that up. So briefly, before I jump into it, I think it'll be better that we discuss the structure of this competition. So the competition preliminarily had like 2 prelim rounds, and the teams that progressed further, the advanced rounds, were called to Kuala Lumpur. And in the initial 2 preliminary rounds that we had, it's a cumulative criteria score, since you see that we are a team of 5. Myself and Andrew were the requesting party, and Alyssa and Ankitha were the responding party, and Celine was our mediator. So the format of this competition wasn't based on individualistic scores, rather how we cumulatively performed as a team. And at the end of the 2 prelim rounds that were held in August virtually, we ended up being amongst the top 8 teams. And the top 8 teams were called to Kuala Lumpur for the semi-final rounds and the final rounds. It was a very interesting format because generally mediation competitions run on very individualistic basis where the mediator progresses ahead regardless of how the other negotiating pairs are performing. But this particular format of the competition requires that all the members in your team perform like really well for you to cumulatively rank higher. Regarding the subject matter of this competition, so we were dealing with investor-state disputes. And I had done FDI 2023 earlier last year, and that kind of gave me a foundation in terms of understanding the approach for the competition itself. And we circulated certain material that we had amongst us. We had a common drive from which we did our preliminary readings. We started our prep sometime around end of May and early June. And we were practicing with a couple other problems that were closer to investor state. But investor state dispute based competitions are relatively rare. This is the only competition that I know of which takes this as a subject matter. But I think having an understanding of investor state disputes really helped us identify our partners and our partners, like the best alternative to a negotiated agreement in terms of identifying the potential solutions that we could have. Besides that, having a subjectual knowledge isn't very important, I would say, because at the end of the day, the focus is of a mediation competition is based on interest gathering and solution building, which does not require a lot of legalese, and that is generally discouraged in competitions as well. So the idea of an investor state is just for you to have an understanding of the subject matter before you start negotiating. And it was a challenging and interesting format for us to understand what the stakes of a government is versus a private investor. So it was interesting, and I think we would completely credit all the efforts to our coach as well, Jolene, who like really pushed us through.
What strategies would you say that helped you build trust with the other parties during mediation?
All right, so I'll just take that one. So at least for me, I think what did help a lot was identifying their common ground right after the opening statement stage. And I was told by a judge that this would actually put parties at ease because they feel like they are being heard. And there's a second effect to that, which is whenever they are struggling, they can always look back at the board and they can see here's your common interest. And in a caucus, if they share something like, I don't believe this is going far, we can always point to the common ground and say, hey, look, we've come so far, and here's everything that we've identified, and then it will make the other party feel it's not that bad. Yeah. So another one would be just generally to make puns, jokes on occasion, so that it can help parties feel a little bit more comfortable. And of course, smile, nod, all of these kind of unconscious behaviors to show that you're listening. Yeah.
Absolutely. So since it's a cross team, that too of two different countries, we would love to know how you balanced your approach and also handle differences, if any, amongst yourselves.
I think for us, personally, I felt that we didn't have a very huge difference, given that some of us were actually quite new to mediation. Personally, I think for Andrew and myself, it was our first time actually going for a mediation competition. So we were more, I guess, malleable to different ideas and approaches from both universities. I think one thing that Vineela mentioned earlier was having our coach Jolene. She really helped us push through. She taught us all that she knew, her approaches, and I think eventually we just kind of found what works for us best after going through many training and sparring sessions. Oh, I think that's one thing's really good also, sparring sessions. She managed to get 8 different sparring individuals for us to go against, and some of them intentionally played, let's say, a more stubborn role or took different approaches. So we were able to actually practice how it was like with potential opponents who may be of different characters, for example. I think the overarching thing though was our willingness to adapt to one another. We understood that we were all from different backgrounds. Even between, let's say, Celine and I and Andrew, we also are taking different courses in NUS, the JD versus the LLB. So we are from different backgrounds. And I think I myself am from Malaysia as well. So we really had different walks of life in our team. And I think all of us being willing to work together and to come through with one willingness to listen to each other was something that was really important for our entire team to work through.
Right. Could you tell us more about the training sessions? How did you plan them? With the
The training
time drills?
sessions, yeah, they were really planned mostly by our coach. So she really helped us push through. I think Vineela was not exaggerating when she said she really coached us from start to end. We had a lot of them. I think we had at one point 3 to 4 sessions a week. So it was quite a grueling time for all of us, but it really helped us get familiar with one another, with how our styles were like. For me and Ankitha, we were on the same team on the government's end, so we really got ourselves familiarized with how a government would think, how we would push through for governmental interests in such an investor-state dispute.
Right. What was the most challenging part of dealing with an investor-state dispute and mediation, if you can tell?
Like Vineela said, I personally think that it was not very challenging when it came to the subject matter, because we did not dive into the legal nuances that much, because it is a mediation competition at the end of the day. But we did do our preliminary readings. But when it came to the problem, I think even Vineela and Andrew and Alyssa and I, we had a very realistic approach as to how a company would probably engage in these activities, or how governments would react to these cases in real life. I think that was something that was quite new, and we had to do our research on that, especially because these companies are dealing with the problem that we had was related to minerals in general. So we had to look up the practices, or how mining was done, or how intricate everything is this. It was that. And I think that was a bit challenging, understanding the technical parts of it. But other than that, it was a quite smooth sailing process, I believe.
Right. How did you adapt to different communication styles online and in person?
Yes. So this was a whole different game, to be honest, because when it came to the online rounds, or the preliminary rounds that we had online, we had to be active listeners, is what I think, because the format of the competition was online and people were in all different locations. And we had to be active listeners because we had to keep up our time, and everything had to go in a set manner. And even when it came to our speech, I think when it came to the in-person rounds, we had to be more prepared, because we were being judged for how we were speaking, the voice modulation, and even our body language, as a matter of fact. And when it came to online, it was more about understanding the other party, and also pushing for our own, let's just say, our own interests. So, and it did take some effort to get used to Alyssa. Like, she was my counsel, and in order to work it out in person as to how we were going to discuss things, etc. Whereas when it came to the online format, it was far easier to do that, I believe. But with practice, I think it did get better and it worked out for the best.
Right.
I think I'd like to
Yes,
add
please.
a small bit here. Like, I think the major part comes about coordinating with a client and counsel
Right.
in offline, online settings. Particularly when you're online, I think there's always this option of you dropping each other chats privately
Right.
and giving each other cues, but you can't actually do that in a competition. So it's very heavy that we had like a pre-prepared set of instructions or notes saying that, okay, pass it back to me, ask a question, or just like, let me ask a question, stop. And we would just like push our pen on those respective check boxes so that the other person takes the cues. So there's like always a distinction between how we coordinate online and offline with the time management, because you can always like check your phone when you're online, but you can't
Right.
really do that when you're in a session. So yeah, just that bit.
I think both modes have their own pros and cons. When it comes to time management, as you said, it's very easy if you're doing it online. But I prefer, personally, I prefer it offline because you can easily pass notes instead of like asking on Google Meet, because your co-counsel is usually next to you. So I believe it's easier to just pass notes. So it's great to know different perspectives. Moving on, what according to you are some important key skill sets that you think help you in succeeding in this competition?
I would say there are a lot of different key skills. We can't really attribute to one. I think the biggest thing was our ability to adapt and think quickly on our feet. And this came through after a lot of practices with our coach and sparring partners who really trained us with different type of personalities that they adopted with us, how to treat different characters with different treatment. For example, if let's say a counsel on the other end was being particularly hard on their stance, how do we counter that ability without sounding too hard in our stance on our own? Because mediation, in the end, is about cooperation, coordination, and a bit of like give and take as well. And I think mediation also includes a lot of rapid responses to unexpected developments. So we made it a priority to try and stay calm and reasonable while still maintaining a little bit of wit as well. I remember at some point for our final round, since Ankitha mentioned our problem was about minerals, we we were considering bringing in a rock that we just picked up from one of the random streets to say that, it's been a rocky relationship. Just something a little witty like that to keep the
Witty.
judges entertained and to give the other party like, just to give a sensing that we are not taking this very like so seriously. It's not adversarial. Again, it is everyone is working together to one solution that benefits everyone. I would say I would also attribute our preparation. It's not really a key skill per se, but our preparation prior to the competition was a major factor in our skills being applied. For example, we spent a lot of time practicing and reviewing our strategies on like the rough flow we want the mediation to be like. What happens if, let's say, this flow is disrupted because someone on the other end, the opposing side ask this particular question, what should we say in this response? And I think that helped us remain calm because we kind of roughly knew the different pathways the mediation could go, and we were prepared to kind of take any stance that the other opposing side may take. So this entire combination, I would say, of adaptability, calmness, and preparation really set us up for success and help us present a cohesive and responsive front throughout the entire competition.
Right, that's a great approach. But what do you do? Like, did you face any team which was particularly aggressive throughout the mediation competition? Did it ever happen during the competition, and how did you deal with it?
I think from Alyssa and I, like, we did have a smooth running competition till the finals, but when it came to the finals, I think our opponents were equally prepared. They were equally good. They
Right.
did throw us off board at some point, but again, mediation is all about thinking on your feet and gathering everything that you have and placing it before. And we were able to substantially implement that well. And like Alyssa said, it's always not about working out a solution, but it's about working together and, coming up with something that works on both ends. And that is what I think in mediation competitions, judges are looking for, as to how cooperative the parties are to reach an end goal that facilitates both of them and not fight over your interests. we were able to substantially push for that. And I think it worked out in the end for us.
It definitely did. Talking to the winners. Right. Moving on, what lessons did you take from this competition which you think will help you in future mediations?
All right, so I think I'll take that one. I do think maybe I have 3 points. Although I did learn a lot about it, I'll just like concisely express them now. The first one was my coach Jolene. She said that you have to sell your usefulness as a mediator, and what that means is that in your caucus, when your like parties are facing a problem, for instance, they don't feel heard, you can sell the fact that you are a mediator in the caucus, and you can tell you what, as a mediator, I I can do this, I can be the bridge between, and explain how telling somebody something in a caucus, where there's no distractions might be beneficial. Yeah, so that's one of them, and it shows it's like that's what you're getting paid for as a mediator. The second one I got from a judge, which was caution parties in your opening statement that you go hard on them in the caucus equally. So you're not doing it to prejudice their interests. And the third one is linked to that, which is don't be afraid to caucus when there's a standstill. And I was very worried about the time for a caucus. Like it can take 5 minutes, and normally that would be the maximum. And after my competition, the judge actually talked to me about it, and I was told that actually even if it overshoots and it's 10 minutes long, it's about how you show off your skills. So reality test as much as possible, and do things like play the devil's advocate until you finally like get through if it's a very hard-headed party. So yeah, don't be afraid to extend the caucus even if it might seem counterintuitive. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Just talking about the caucus, can you tell us more about it? So, like, what do you think you as a mediator need to know before taking a caucus? When do you decide if it is the right time to take that caucus?
All right, so I feel like there are a few periods. The first one would be where there seems to be some kind of a confusion. So parties don't really understand the facts very well. It might be a good time to take them aside into a caucus. Of course, there might be a situation where parties are in conflict. And I tend to like to take parties into the caucus at around the 30-minute mark. I was told that would be good, but really it's a tool that can be used to to take away any kind of tension. So that would be the most effective time to call. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. So, were there any specific moments or turning points, if we can say in any, during the mediation that you believe helped secure your win?
Yeah, so I will take the question. So I think we didn't as a team our scores we weren't faring too well in the first prelim online round, but we fortunately and with hard practice we actually turned our scores and we improved in the second session, the preliminary rounds, and that gave us actually so-called a lifeline, and we advanced into the semis. And I think from there on, like there was no turning back for us. We did work hard, and also we, more importantly, we were as a team, the various groups, we were consistent with our performance as well. And I think that really carried us through, even to the final rounds as well. Yeah.
Right. Lastly, what advice would you give to students who are preparing for such mediation competitions?
I would section it out into like before the competition, during competition, and yeah. So before a competition, I guess you should really practice with your teammates, get advice from a coach, apply what your coach say, and practice together. Keep on practicing, and keep on going through the case in your mind. During the competition itself, perhaps you probably will need to keep your cool, don't panic, and but having said that, always remember that negotiation is more of like an improvisation, as mentioned by my teammates, thinking on your feet. So do not be ready to depart from your rehearsed strategy sometimes, and just don't go too over reliant on your notes. And of course, remain and be authentic and genuine, and really, try to be like in the in a practical situation, you're trying to do good for your client. And well, I guess after the competition itself, after the session, just make sure that you listen to your judges' comments as it will. You will learn a bit from what you had done during the sessions, and yeah.
I think Andrew summed it up just right. Thank you so very much. With this, I believe we have covered the team's AIADR journey. Thank you so very much for being here and being a part of this entire interview and sharing your experience with us. I am very positive this video will be of utmost help to everybody watching it. Once again, on behalf of ILCC, I thank you for being with us here and I wish you the very best for your journey ahead. Thank you.